We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart. Hello, everybody. Samantha Jones Show. I'm he. It is the, what is this? The Midday Connection? Baby. How y'all is? Come on in. The water is fine. I'm going to talk about something here. As I've been doing lately, I have been taking notes and checking it twice and going to find out which one of y'all is naughty and which one of y'all are nice. I want to talk about the psychological effects of racism. And I've been writing notes and typing notes and getting ready for this particular show for this reason, because it is something important. So I've got some notes here that I've been writing since I've been seeing the dysfunction of the things that's been going on my TV screen and on Facebook and Twitter, and see if I can come up with an idea on the effects, the mental effects on black people from people who come across as being very racist, and possibly could this be a mental illness? Man, you know, the jury is still out on a lot of this right here, but I want to see if I could use my experience by talking to and being friends with white folks and dating white women to understand what's going on here. But before I go there, Samantha B, a comedian, her show comes on nightly on TBS, I think it is, said something very derogatory towards what's her face? Donald Trump's daughter. Okay. She said something derogatory, and she had to issue an apology this morning because of it. And people right now are trying to compare what Samantha B said last night to what Roseanne Barr said a couple of days ago about Valerie Jarrett being compared to an ape. All right. Now, when Valerie Jarrett, when she was attacked by Roseanne Barr, the White House was very light on their response to it, even to the point where Donald Trump says he didn't even mention her. He mentioned Valerie Jarrett and ABC firing the show, but then he went back to saying, "But what about me? What about me? What about me? What about me?" And then Huckabee Sanders made her statement and was saying, well, this is why he said what he said. No, she shouldn't have called the woman an ape, but why can't ABC apologize to Trump? And they just... So Samantha B used the C word last night, Melinda, to talk about, not Melania, what's Donald Trump's daughter, and the White House went bonkers. They went crazy. They issued a sharp statement. Said, how dare she? She should be canceled. CBS should pull the show. This don't make any sense. Ivanka, thank you, Beverly. Oh, they went crazy this morning. Notice, though, the double standard that they've been saying has been issued by the left on all these people who've been saying just derogatory, and they're right. The people who've been saying derogatory statements towards politicians, and has been lightly talked about in the media, the liberal media, lightly, and shame on you. And then this happened, okay, double standard. When I want to play a woman here who had a very, very compelling point about the difference between what Samantha B said and what Roseanne Barr said. And notice again, can you put those two people together? Can the uproar? See, what happened was the right, the Republicans said, you should not have canceled Roseanne Barr. You should have just allowed this to be a teaching moment, like Valerie Jarrett says, and let her do her show and then talk about what she said on the show and write it in the script and on and on and on, because the left been saying this forever. But then when Samantha B said what she said last night, everybody on the right said, cancel the show. You see what's going on in America? Okay, now watch this here. I'm going to play this right here. I think this is a great analogy.
Yet the mainstream media stays silent. I would note we are covering this here. Joining us on the phone for a little bit of analysis and perspective is Jess McIntosh. She's the executive editor of Share Blue and a former Clinton campaign advisor. And Jess, I thought it was important to have your perspective here because this, of course, as we know, first of all, comedians have used this word in the past and been criticized or not for it. Also, Hillary Clinton, who you worked for, often faced down this kind of rhetoric herself as a candidate.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think the first point to make when talking about the statements from the White House and the First Lady is that we are not having an intellectually honest discussion here. Roseanne Barr used exactly the same language, minus the word feckless, to describe Hillary Clinton, and of course there was no outrage from the right-wing media when she did that. There is a major, important difference between oppression and name-calling. And the reason why racist language matters is because black people are in financial straits and physical danger because of racism. That is why that has an actual bearing on American society and really needs to be dealt with immediately. Calling somebody a bad word doesn't contribute to systemic oppression. It calls them a bad word. What does contribute to systemic oppression of women is having a president who is an admitted sexual assaulter, who has used words, this one and others, to describe women throughout his career and faced zero repercussions for it. So I understand that this is a shiny object that they are really excited to grab onto because there's not much else going right for them these days. But if we're actually going to have a conversation about doing right by women, there's absolutely no leg to stand on coming from this particular White House.
Notice it says there is no leg to stand on coming from this White House. Oppression versus name calling. There's a difference here, and I think she's spot on. Okay? Now, I played that for a reason because, let me set this back up, y'all. I'm sorry. If you're getting a little dizzy, please forgive me. Okay? Take some Ambien and you'll be okay. No, don't take Ambien because you're going to start calling white folks hunkies and stuff. Don't do that. This right here, is racism a mental illness? I don't want to do that right now. I want to do a whole new show on that where I think whether it is or not. I might lightly bring that up. But I will say, I want to talk about what racism is. I think we all say racism is. If you ask what a white person what is racism, he will give you one definition. You ask a black person, he will give you another definition. Okay? What is racism? You got to understand, 400 years of slavery, 150 years of discrimination after that, 50 plus years of covert discrimination after that. Understand? That's what black people had to endure. What is racism? It's an invisible system of discrimination, is what it is. An injustice that was established and upheld by our social institutions. It's invisible, but accepted and established by our Americans' social institutions. Very, very important. Plus crack being created and put in our communities. Oh, yeah, come on, I know. And so that's what that is. It's designed to keep people of color in a permanent second-class status. Permanent second-class status. That's what it's designed to do. Understand that. That's why some of the black people say, how can I be racist when I have no power? Financially, I'm not on the top. Politically, I'm not on the top. Okay? Even in religion, I'm not on the top. Blessings to you, Tony Williams. Okay, I'm not on the top. So because it's a system. So to define racism as it is, the popular definition of it is a systematic institution, which we are not a part of. We're at the table, but we're dinner. Okay. It's designed to keep you permanently in second class. Now, where is it putting us, and where is it designed to put us in the second class? In entertainment, in education, in science, in economics, in policies, and these laws are backed by these values, the attitudes, and these stereotypes through politics, through religion, and through war. Okay, yeah, we're dinner, Beverly. That's what I'm saying. So it's important to understand what it is so that we can understand the effects, the psychological effects to us. Jim Crow back in the day was in our face, was in their face. It was obvious that it was just something that you saw. Jim Crow during the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, okay? But it was replaced by this shiny new law, this new Jim Crow, this prison industrial complex, okay? This drug policies against you. That's what it is, all right? And these laws was just as racist, but it looked better on the surface and it was more palatable to white people. I'm trying to tell you. So what it did was it made it harder for white people to see it. White people saw the obvious, blatant racist of Jim Crow because of the signs. You couldn't drink from their fountains. You couldn't sleep in their hotels. Okay, you couldn't dine at the Woolworths and all these things. So it was blatant. But then they got rid of that law and hid it. It's the same effect. These secret codes that's used, that has always been used on you and black people in the Democratic Party, been using these secret codes forever to keep you poor and keep you down. I believe Black Lives Matter, one of them. Just to say Planned Parenthood is another one. When I first saw Planned Parenthood, I said, who would not want to plan their parenthood? And I supported the concept of Planned Parenthood, but they didn't tell you, though, we killing millions of your babies, okay? And then even the defense says, we do more at Planned Parenthood than kill babies, and they do. Oh, man. Black people cannot be racist. Please stop saying that. Racism equals prejudice plus power to institute prejudice, Shantae Charles says. So the Jim Crow now looks great. It's hidden, okay? Do y'all know what redlining is? Many of you, I hope most of you know what it is. Well, the whole aspect of redlining, the effects of redlining is here today. You may not know it, but it's still here where black people live. Here in Chicago, Chicago is, I think, the most segregated city in America. I believe it. It's the most segregated city in America. Now, and I've been to towns in California. I've been to New York City, and I know they're segregated as well. But Chicago, ooh, it is the most. I believe it is the most. The whole redlining thing is very important to see because when America began to give out these loans on homes, millions of dollars were given to people who come from the war for homes. You were left out of that. And if they gave you a home loan, it was about this much. And they gave these home loans to these whites, and then they began to build these suburbia, okay? And so suburbia life was great for them. And you have to understand also that when you buy these homes, you are hit with what's called property tax. Property taxes go to fund the schools in your towns. All right. Well, if the property tax goes to support your schools or build your schools, what else goes into those schools? Because more money is pulled in from those white people who got those big home loans. And the taxes on those big home loans are larger. And so, of course, it pours into the schools, which gives them more technology, better books, and better teachers, better education. And then those children raise up in a better environment, gives them this sense of white privilege, and then they become better citizens, not so much better, but more prominent citizens. They find better jobs because even today, an employer would look at would look at two resumes, and because the name sounds black, they will not hire you because it just sounds black. They also look at your address. where you live, and they said we can't hire this person, okay, because it's assumption. That is institutional racism. So the redlining effect still happens today. They put a fence, a barrier, a wall to separate the white prominent areas from those black areas, and it still affects us today. Disparate distribution of resources. Absolutely, yes. So of course, I remember back in the 70s when I was in school, they was teaching us Morse code. In 1976, they was teaching us Morse code, a way of communicating that was outdated years prior. Morse code. Those white kids up the way up north, they weren't learning Morse code. The computers were being shipped into those schools. We didn't see no computers. We didn't know what that was. We had an abacus, whatever you call that thing, with that thing on when you that's how we counted. Those little that box thing, and you know they call it abacus, whatever. We was trying to learn it the most primitive way possible. Why? Because redlining. Erased by numbers, zip codes, yep, credit scores, test scores. Come on. Absolutely. And even today, you are charged more in interest rates, you black people, more so than white people, even though you have the same credit report. He got a 700, you got a 700, but you will always pay more. The entire land grant system, as far back as the record goes, was built on genocide. Come on, Deanne. I'm getting Deanne and Demetrius and Sant. I'm getting y'all mixed up. It's just y'all so brilliant people. Okay, so that's what was going on in the property tax, the whole redlining. So one of the side effects of the civil rights movement, understand the side effects. Abacus. Thank you, Beverly. Abacus. Yes, Shante, the black tax, these poll tax, and these voter voter registration laws that was highly pressed on black people. They took a cereal box, okay, and they said, all right, you can register to vote if you can tell me how many flakes is in the cornflake box. I mean, it was just some of the most craziest stuff, and a lot of that stuff still is going on today. It's just hidden. All right. So there was an effect on the civil rights movement that caused whites to feel one way and blacks to feel another way. The increased belief in post-racial society was the effect of the civil rights movement of the 1950s. And then the bill was signed in 1964. And mentally, it affected white folks one way and black folks another way. Whites then began to blame the persisting struggles on black moral failure, because they says you have civil rights now. There's no more racism systematically. Jim Crow is gone. So whatever has happened to you right now, it's because of a character flaw in you, which gives them even more strength of superiority. They begin to believe that they're more superior over black people. Racism, understand? And can this effect of this system of the 60s all the way to now have caused a mental dysfunction to happen in these white people? Ooh, something here. Okay, they call it, there's a trauma that happens in children that is not being analyzed by us or the professional society for some reason, not at large. It should be examined, but it's not. These kids are being shot in our streets, and nobody's sending psychologists and psychiatrists to the neighborhoods to examine the mental state of these children who are constantly under this stress of fear of walking the streets and being shot. I'm trying to tell you, it is the delusion of superiority. Yes, it is. I was Ubering a black young lady in my car, and another brother was my age, was back there too, and I picked them up in a neighborhood that was kind of rough, all right? And as I was taking them to their destinations, the brother was asking the young lady, where you going? Oh, I'm going over to my sister's house. Okay, she says, because I don't go outside. He says, yeah, I had a barbecue because they lived in the same area. He says, I had a big barbecue and you didn't show up to the barbecue. She's like, oh no, I stay in the house. I don't go outside. He says, why? She says, because I love my life. And I'm taking mental notes of this conversation. She says, I love my life. She says, I stay home. Even during the school months and during the summer, I don't go outside. I don't. She says, I'm catching an Uber because I didn't want to catch no bus, no train. I didn't want to walk. So I called an Uber. And when I get here, I'm going to stay in the house. I said, wow. Do you not know she represents a whole bunch of young black men and women out there who are afraid to go outside and play? They can't because they're afraid that they may not survive. Is anybody analyzing the mentality of this? This is trauma. And this is PTSD at its best. And nobody's looking at it. So what's going to happen is when this child begin to act out of this frustration, inner frustration, then white America is going to come to a conclusion about that little girl. For the black folks, some have bought into the illusion of inferiority. White, yeah, I know. Many say so-called Negroes believe whites are superior. I know. I'm trying to tell y'all. This is a good point, Minister Dwight Manning, that they are superior. Many black people believe that they are superior, and I believed it too when I was coming up. Now, my father had a tactic that he used, though. He didn't believe that they were superior, but he used their sense of superiority to get what he needed out of them. My father, like a lot of blacks back in the day, gathered their wealth. Blacks became wealthy due to real estate. Real estate, almost exclusively real estate. Even though they couldn't get the loans, they found clever ways of buying those homes because mama and grandmama believed in saving. Okay? And they put that money in that account and it built up its little interest, okay, and what have you, and they were able to buy those homes, all right? And then with the little loans that they got, they went into these little small, little shaggy little homes, what have you, and they began to expand and buy bigger and bigger homes, okay? And my father was clever. And I noticed when we were young, he would talk on the phone to these, we knew, my brothers would tease him, but we knew when my father was talking to a white client or he was talking to a black client, because when he was on the phone talking to a white client, he talked like a white person. Hello, Mr. Jajariot. How are you, sir? Oh, I'm doing fine. How are you, good buddy? That's good. How is the daughter? And that's the way my daddy would talk to these white folks. And we knew he was talking to a white man. Yes, that's right. And this is what I'm going to do for you, sir. But when his black client was on, he'd like, hey, how you doing? Yeah. All right, Doc, doing all right? Good to see you, brother. That's what my father did. And we would crack up and say, why my daddy talking to white folk? We know it's a white man. He had to use that system to his benefit so that he can get. And to this day, my father owned a whole lot of property. It was white, it was the black moving in on white flights, and the white folks were nervous. And so what they started doing is they would ask my daddy, because he was a carpenter, to go in there and fix up their places so that they can sell it to other people. My father was like, oh no, I'm buying this house. I'm buying this property. I'm buying this condo. And he found strategic ways to do it. Jim Crow is not gone. It's just being implemented in another way. Evelyn Nicholson is saying charter schools have replaced public schools, which will eliminate education, the poor and the minorities, because they can choose their students. Come on, Evelyn, you preaching? Yes. Okay. Yes. Code switching, Shantae says. They call it code switching. I'm so glad Shantae and Deanne is here and Nicholas, because y'all are just geniuses. Okay. All right. So the side effects. All right. So post-racial society, they believe the LBJ signed the bill. We're good to go. And then white people says there is no more racism. You got the bill signed. So whatever's going on is because of you. Scott Bradley says, yep, my dad would do the same thing. In fact, when they found out that he was black, they would refer to him as an intellectual Negro, intelligent Negro. Come on, Scott Bradley, blessings to you. If anybody know anything about black struggle, Doc Scott Bradley know about it. Got to get you back on the show, man. But that's exactly it. Our parents were not dumb. They was just strategic, and we thought they were Uncle Toms and all this stuff. No, they used the system to get what they needed. Bills that are unenforced are, as MLK says, blank checks. That's it. Yes. Okay, so there is a race race-based trauma. I believe this trauma that's happened to black people, when you see the anger, the dismay, and them acting out when a cop pulls them over, and then there's a scuffle. Okay, when these Chinese folks in the shops are following black people around the shops, and then there's a scuffle. I believe it's because of a race-based trauma that has affected black people mentally. You say what you say. The DSM, I think they're at 5 now, is not yet ready, I believe, to recognize this fully. They're not ready yet. They're not ready, and they probably will never, ever recognize this as possibly a mental illness, and I don't believe that all races are mentally ill. I don't believe that. Okay, there's both, and we're talking about the psychological effects of racism on black people. The DSM, they're not ready, for the same reason why they had to remove homosexuality as a mental illness, because they realized that could be a political and financial problem for us. I believe that the system, even the psychological neighborhood or community, is also hit by racism. Every neighborhood or community professionally is hit by racism because racists are in it. And I believe those of the APA, I believe that there are a few racists are in there. So how could you can't put in the DSM that which goes against the very people who write up the policies. Okay, and who writes the books for disorders? Come on, Shantae, there it is. So you can't tell a person who possibly is a racist that you need to put this in the book and inform the people of racism. Okay, they're not ready to fully accept that there are some people who are racist, or that some racists are mentally ill. Now, Roseanne Barr have a mental illness. Roseanne Barr have a mental illness, and I believe 25 to 30% of Hollywood have a mental illness. They have come out and said it. I've done shows on it. If you Google mental illness in Hollywood among actors and singers, you will see a list a mile long of actors who said, I have a mental illness. Much of it is bipolar. Of course, it's called mania or manic depression right now. And they said, I have this. But notice, you hardly ever hear any of them make racist statements like Roseanne Barr. So what am I saying here? She blamed, or her ex-husband you notice he pretty much was telling y'all her mental illness is a result of her saying these racist things. She said, no, it's ambient. But if 20% of Hollywood have mental illness and they don't come out and say these things, but Roseanne Barr did, and you saying it's mental illness, that needs to be examined right there. It needs to be examined. It is a mental illness, or it is a trauma from rituals. So that's a question that she's asking. Okay, Minister Dwight Manning says we need more charter schools that teach our children what our reality is. Public schools education perpetuates miseducation of the so-called Negro and Minister Dwight Manning and perpetuates the concepts of white superiority. Man, that's tight. Bears Bowling says, I think white racist people are mentally retarded. Well, you can't use that word today. If God made man, we all come through Adam. He didn't make a white nor black or other Adam. I'm just saying, Bears Bolton, I will address that by saying God is not colorblind. God sees colors. He made white folks white. He made black folks black. He made red folks and yellow folks and green folks. Okay, he made people colors. He made them colors for his enjoyment and his likeness. Okay, he did that. All right, but I will go with you on the aspect of Adam. Because of Adam's sin, everybody is susceptible to do anything sinful. I'm with you on that. That also tells us that we are taking cues from entertainment that is also crazy and letting our life. White supremacists do not believe that black people are human or that we came through the Adamic line. That's right. Shantae says that. Right. So they deserve to die. Pretty much the racists or those are white nationalists or those Aryan nations, they believe that black people are so insignificant in society that they need to just disappear. Why were they even created? And the statistical, well, not statistical, Charles Darwin, you have to understand what his book was really about. The preferred races. He wasn't talking about animals and monkeys and the Galapagos Islands and turtles, whatever, turtles, okay, and henches and finches and all these animals, okay. He wasn't just focusing on that. He was focusing on you. Selective races for the preservation of whatever it is called. It's a long name. It's a racist book, and Hitler used that book. He loved it, and then he wrote Mein Kampf, which is pretty much a part 2 of Charles Darwin's book. And he looked at the Jews as being insignificant as well, and they needed to all die. All of them needed to die, and for ethnic cleansing. Understand that, okay? So I believe there's a race-based trauma that happens to African Americans, which caused them to act out the way they are acting out today. White supremacists worship a different God, lowercase g. The Antichrist will be their supreme achievement. I believe that as well. Okay? White people are going to look at this, especially those on YouTube, are going to look at this as being a whole bunch of black people acting racist. Or look at these racist black people saying what they're saying about us. Trust me. If it ain't right now, by the time you see this YouTube video, you're going to see a whole bunch of thumbs down. You're going to see comments from whites who are going to say all you black people are racist because of what y'all saying about us. Trust me. Get ready for it. He and his cousin Francis Dalton were racist, and the doctrine of racial superiority is taught in schools as evolution. That's right. Same thing Michael Richardson of Seinfeld did. He had a meltdown, June Harden is saying, on stage. All of a sudden, mental illness was a factor. That's good, June. Notice how mental illness is thrown out there with white folks. But you are a thug when you go against the cop. You are a thug when you rally in the street. You are a thug. Oh, man. You don't have mental illness. Kid going to school and shoot up everybody, he has mental illness. That is the narrative that's always brought out by that side. Demetri Pitt says ethnic cleansing. Isn't that what God did with the children of Israel? I'm just saying. That's another show. Ooh, you brought up something here. Ethnic cleaning. So did God create all these people and then decide to kill all the people and preserve only the Israelites? Is that what you're saying? Did God not have a plan after Adam's sin to present the world a savior? Why didn't he kill up everybody? Oh, Demetri Pitts, we need to answer that. Yes, they will, because they think we are not supposed to discuss these matters that affect us as people. Karen says, to some whites, you can work 3 times harder and better, but you'll never get the recognition as your colleagues for less work and not as good as yours. Evelyn Nicholson, and that could be a problem. Evelyn Nicholson, I cannot disagree with you whatsoever, because I believe that can happen to some whites. For the same reason what I believe that affirmative action has supported and benefited many whites over blacks. They're blacks who couldn't get in the system because white folks benefited from affirmative action. So you see how this can happen here? It's a catch-22 situation. So they will admit, though, the DSM, the APA, they will admit, they're working on it, that the accumulations of what I think is called microaggression, microaggression can lead to PTSD. This is what I believe. What is microaggression? That is not so much the system of racism. That's just you walking down the street and some guy says, nigga, I've been called that. Walking up and down towns like here in Cicero, Illinois, in Humboldt Park, maybe back in the 70s when I was young, and even in the 80s, in some places in the Gold Coast, okay? Nigga, right? That's microaggression. Now, there's something about this that's very important. Blacks will downplay the racial aggression. They will downplay it, meaning you don't go to your white friends and say these things happened to you. You just didn't report it. Like a woman who was raped, in many cases, she did not report it due to shame or fear. Understand that? And so it's played down. And if she comes years later and say this happened, in many cases it's played down. When those women reported Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein and all these other people, many of the women, even Donald Trump, these women's accusations were played down because it happened so long ago. One came forth, then everybody came forth, and before you know it, you get this mesh, this pool of ancestral, it's just chaos. It's out of control. And this woman lately who came forth and said that, what's the black brother who she said that he said something, okay, I can't go there. The latest brother who does the voiceovers, what's his name, who said they're coming forth about him as well. What's his name? The old man who does the voiceovers. And the woman said that he said something sexual to her. Did y'all see the video? I inboxed a few of y'all. Morgan Freeman. Thank you, Shantae Charles. And she said that he made a comment. And when you look at the comment that he made, it was so stupid what she accused him of. It was the dumbest thing. But you're going to get a whole bunch of them coming forth because of this. So blacks will have for many years downplayed the racial aggression or the microaggression. And then what happens is when they downplay it, whites dismiss it. So when we downplay the aggression, white people will dismiss it as that didn't happen or you was just having a bad day. You see, when I was coming up, when I got old enough to start getting hired for jobs, I would walk on the elevator. I worked downtown. In the late 1980s, my first real job was an accounting job, and I worked downtown. When I got in the elevator, if a white woman or man was in the elevator, I put my head down. I couldn't look at the white person in the face. Couldn't do it. When I would walk down the street and white people were coming my way, I moved out the way. They never moved out the way from me. I moved out the way because that was the system that I come up under, thinking that this was normal for me to act this way. I don't think y'all understand this. And some of y'all are probably saying, that's ridiculous, that's stupid. No, you got to understand where we come up under. There are a group of black people who come up under that where they were not really raised around white people. Then they watch TV. They go to public schools and they learn this about history, although false much of it is. And then it perpetuates this feeling in them that maybe we are inferior. I think Minister said it earlier, that there are a lot of black people who believe that they are inferior to whites, to the point where they begin to act that out. So they can't tell a white person that I'm being there's aggression going, somebody's calling me nigger and all this stuff. They just didn't do it. Are y'all catching any of this? I'm trying to tell y'all what my struggle was. All right. I just had an incident at a home. Karen says a white male tried to come through my window and a police officer told me he is harmless. He has a mental illness. You see what I'm saying? Oh, man. Hey, Veronica, blessings to you. Who else is typing this? Pitt says, yes, of course God had a plan. The reason for God allowing the folk to die over the 40 years in the desert was to get, oh, that's what you meant, to get of their dependency on the customs. Oh, Demetri Pitts, that's good. That's good, Demetri Pitts. I misunderstood what you were saying. You're right. Shantae says, if you came out of public schools as a white person and you don't feel superior, we failed you. Jane Elliott. Jane Elliott is well hated by many whites because of her truth. Jim Crow's still here, just implemented differently. Yep, I mentioned that, okay? So this trauma and the downplaying of the trauma. And you will, now watch this, you will also have anxiety by how whites don't respond to your complaint. That's part of the psychological effect, the mental effect of black people towards whites is, I'll tell you, number one, I don't tell you that there is a racial or microaggression towards me. I don't tell you that. So you just think that all is well. Number two, when I do tell you and you dismiss it, then anxiety happens in me how dare you dismiss it? And that hits me even harder, PTSD. I don't think y'all getting this. Is there a biblical reason for the treatment of blacks? I can't find anything of significance in my research. I've always wanted to know. Sharon Green, yeah. Men are lovers of themselves. That's another show. Deuteronomy 28 fits it perfectly. When a daughter is raped by her father or an uncle, she tells the mama, this happened to me. The mama says, you're lying. I don't believe it. Or if it did happen, you caused it. There's the answer. What happens to that child? Does the child grow up to believe a couple things? Number one, maybe it didn't happen, or maybe I did cause it. Number three, I hate my mother. She was not on my side. She didn't protect me. I hate my mother. And then this child grow up and possibly take on the life of her mother. She hired an abusive man, or this man that she got began to molest her own children. It is an amazing effect that happened. And back in the day when I was in school, we actually studied. They had classes on social studies, urban studies. Whatever happened to those classes? And do they still study those classes? We had home economics. Do they still do that in class today in black schools? I don't know. But I think those classes actually helped me to talk the way I do now. The So Arthur Jones Show developed through my experiences in school and in the community and in religion, okay, on the job, all right? But many of the things that I learned was because of my social study classes and urban studies classes in high school. It was my number one class. Loved it. If I got A's in any class, I got A's in that, and I got A's in U.S. history. Those were my two favorite classes, and I might have got a B+ in biology because I was a nerd, and I knew that there was something up with me. The Hebrews were scattered. That the Jewish people are converts and not blood inheritors and are not the people of the scriptures. Shante. Yeah, I do not believe that the Jews over there right now, okay, this is another, I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all causing this because I'm reading y'all's comments. Some of the most racist people in the world today are those Jews that are in Israel today. Be black and go over there. I ain't talking about on those cute little trips that's funded by your church, where they go into certain territories and they seem like they love you. I'm sorry to tell you that. You go over there in the real parts of Jerusalem and they hate you. This is nothing new. This has been the system of Jerusalem for many decades of hundreds of years. I know they re-entered into Jerusalem in 1949. I get that. Okay, I can't go there. Microaggression. What he's saying is where you at? Who said this? Somebody was talking about microaggression. Oh, is demonstrated in the workplace on a daily basis. This is Pitts. She's saying this. Now there are other blacks buying into their system. That's why employment discrimination is different case. Yes, I'm with you. They are Khazars from Europe. Yep, I believe it. Deanne says we did not exist in terms of the specific history of Deuteronomy 28. That refers to the ancient Jews. The history of the Old Testament confirms that. Deanne, my explanation, my analogy, I didn't make an analogy of Deuteronomy 28, but what I'm saying is Deuteronomy 28 is an example, I believe, is an example. Now, Shantae, myself, and Deanne may have to go in another room and fight over this, but I believe it is a perfect example. That's another show. I've read that many times. Sharon says, and also heard some biblical teachers say it's not about black people. Yeah, Sharon Green. All right, now Sharon Green just joined us in that room. So let's see that Sharon Green, Shantae, Dan, Matthew, Samantha Jones. We're going to be in that room, and a whole bunch of black Israelites, they're going to be in that room too, and we can discuss Deuteronomy 28, and I can tell you why I decided to use it as an example and not so much I'm getting in trouble every time I open my mouth. All right, so that's the whole thing. Now, PTSD. Okay, I believe the Roseanne Hebrews were all different colors. And they were, Johnny Vickers, the origin of them are different colors. Notice what God told them during the time of the Passover. He said, there are strangers that are with you, and take them with you. Oh boy, I'm in trouble. The ancient Hebrews, not Jews, were driven out in 70 AD. So y'all, I don't know how this got on this Hebrew stuff. Read the whole Torah. Deuteronomy does not come without chapter 28, and it is a good example. But oh man, y'all caught on Deuteronomy 28. Can we focus on Roseanne Barr? All right. Okay, PTSD, post-traumatic stress. Okay, brings about a shame. Y'all agree, right? It brings about a shame. Then it brings about anger. Understand that. And then it brings about judgment. Yeah. Sharon Green, you come on now. That's what PTSD do. If you look at black people who have been affected by micro oppression, okay, and aggression and racialism, then you got to really examine, is this race-based trauma? Is this PTSD? And why is it not recognized by the DSM-5 and those professionals? Why is it always he's a thug, he hate white folks, or they call him a racist? Why is it called that, and why is it not examined? Is it because there's possible help for this person? Yeah, man, I don't know. Okay, let me say this to y'all. This is the afternoon. This is the afternoon edition, so I can't go very long. But Barack Obama, I'm gonna say this to y'all. This might upset some of you, but here it is. Are y'all ready for this? Shantae, I understand. And she said, "I'm done." That's another show. Barack Obama was a temporary medicine that black people needed. Barack Obama was brought here for medicinal reasons. Y'all like, what do you mean? All right. Barack Obama in 2008 was the pill that black people needed, but that pill had side effects. Oh, man. And it had the same effect that Ambien had on Roseanne Barr. I'm trying to tell y'all, had the same supposed effect. There is help, but they don't want to pour any fundings toward the black communities. Yes, that's true. The whole redlining thing, the whole educational thing, okay? Barack Obama came, and what it did was it empowered black people. Get that? It empowered them. It gave them hope. Even little white boys were saying, I'm going to grow up to be a black man and become president. It was giving hope to a whole lot of people. The audacity of hope. Okay. But this medicine that was given to us was it was a water pill. What do you call that medicine? What do you give them? The placebo. It was the placebo effect. Yes, Shantae, that's what it was. A smokescreen. Now, what was the smokescreen of Barack Obama? It gave black people hope and it powered them, but it also made black people lazy. Number one. Number two, the side effects was to white people, he was the end to any conversation about race in America. If you agree with me, give me some likes. Barack Obama was the excuse for white people to say racism must be over. He's the great black hope. It's over. So black people, what are you complaining about? You got a black president. That was the side effect to the placebo effect. Just like the effect of the Black Panther, and mess only deal with symptoms, not the cure. Symptoms, not the cure. Yep, hope, symbolism, and tokenism, no substance. Come on, there it is. Do you not know it has been statistically proven? And here's where I agree with SPREAKER University, which I rarely agree with them, but right here, I do. And I have to do an entire show about it. I can't put it here. I have to do an entire show about it, and I'm going to have to bring out all my special effects. I believe that whenever there is a black person that excels in politics, it do not positively affect the status of black people at large. It don't. It just don't. Black Congress, black mayor, black governor, no. It do not affect black people in economics and education. It don't affect them positively. It just don't. And to prove that, look at the 8 years of Barack Obama. And ask the question, what was the impact on African Americans in those 8 years positively? Yeah. He was the end, but he was also the warning of a black majority rule America. I don't think y'all understand what I'm saying here. Look at all of the black people in power right now in politics, and look at the effects of it. What did it do for black people at large? And why are we still fighting the same battle? June said because it's a white man's game. Now, can we continue to blame the white man for playing his game so well? And is there some personal responsibility on our part? Yeah. You see, because y'all say because there was the majority, Republican majority in Congress, so he couldn't do anything. Oh man, that's something. That's something. What are you saying? What's that word? Meritorious. I can't see it. These words are so small. Manumism. The uplift of one doesn't mean the benefit of all. Come on, Shantae. Oh boy. What he said, Shukina says the battle was never over. Our focus was off. Barack Obama's election caused many to be lazy. You put your gloves, your boxing gloves, back up, and you says, we're going to be all right now. One politician also said Barack was our reparation. Hot mess. Rothschilds, Kissinger, Rockefeller, Soros. This is the true power of politics. June Harden, ooh, to the wee. Man, y'all preaching. Deanna says, no, the white man is going to do what works for him. We need to do what works for us. But it can't work because we are still living on the plantation. And what's the plantation? Oh, man. Here's a great example. Let me play this for y'all. I agree with this brother right here. I agree. Let me find it. Where is it? I agree with this brother.
But I'm just saying, I've been researching Black Lives Matter, and I'm understanding the politics and how they're funded by white liberals. And recently, I've been feeling like they're white liberals in blackface. Because they're white liberals in blackface. And when I say that, it's because the white liberals is all about feminism, LGBT. White liberals don't really care about black people. I realize white liberals don't really care about me, bro.
That's correct.
I'm off the plantation, bro. I'm off the plantation, bro. I escaped the plantation, bro. I'm empowered. They don't want me to have power. They want to keep me dependent. But I'm realizing this. They put white liberal ideas, LGBT, women, non-binary, white feminism, all that Hillary Clinton stuff, put it in blackface. Because if we say it, it's going to be too bad. So then Black Lives Matter, it started by 3 lesbian women. It's not really supporting black families. My question is, what do you think that has to say about the movement that they don't mention anything about black fathers?
I'll tell you what it means. Right?
Nothing about black fathers.
First off, if I can just say, woo, another one off the plantation. They got a problem. And this is how it starts, right? So this is how it starts. So what he said in the beginning was really interesting. Is he said, originally, I liked Black Lives Matter. Me too. Why would I be opposed to that? Black Lives Matter, right? Of course they matter. So you have to understand about the left. They are incredibly good when it comes to linguistics. They use euphemisms, right? Planned Parenthood. Of course I want Parenthood to be planned. Oh, by the way, we're actually killing 800 black babies every single day. Eeks, you know? So this is what they do. They manipulate you by using a term that no person in their right mind would be against, right? Who would be against Planned Parenthood? Who would be against Black Lives Mattering? But the truth is, when you do a deep dive and you start to look at the finances, you're exactly right. People that are in control, Black Lives Matter is a political arm of the Democratic Party. Call them what they are. And their idea is to keep black people, as you just mentioned, enslaved and dependent via their emotion and their anger, right? So what I would say to you first off is to encourage you to keep going and to keep doing a deep dive, because that's how it started for me, right?
Yeah. And I agree with you, Shantae. Just because you leave the plantation don't mean you're going to jump over to the right. You're going to be on another plantation. Now, you got to be careful, though. You got to be careful. Because none of these parties are good for black people. The left, the right, the middle, progressive, social, all those people, no. And why do you feel that you have to be a part of a party? I stopped voting party politics about 15 years ago when I woke up. I stopped doing it. Now, you better study everybody. Now, Shantae says she's a Republican operative. She probably is. But that Republican operative told the truth. But you better study, because racists, they tell the truth too. Satan tells the truth as well. He told Adam and Eve the truth. He tells you more truth than he do lies. That's the best way to get you caught up in occults, is to tell you the truth. Of course, you all know I call it the rat poison effect. That's what it is. Because in that box of rat poison is 95% good food, but it's 5% poison. What makes the rats? Why does the rats get attracted to the rat poison if they know it's poison? Well, number one, they don't know it's poison. Number two, they smell 95% good food. So, of course, you're going to be attracted to that great food. 5% of in there is going to kill you. So right there, that girl told the truth. That boy told the truth. That white dude on stage told the truth. But you better, like Ecclesiastes said, you better study the whole matter. Or you're going to get pulled down in there and you're going to become part of the problem while you eating 95% good food. Okay? Be careful. She told partial truth. She also, capes for white supremacy. Shantae, she told the truth. The devil tells the truth. But the devil tells you half truth as well. No, he tell you more truth than me. Tell you more truth than he do anything. Well, I'll tell you what. A whole lot of truth mixed with a little bit of false. Yeah, it's all a lie. It's all a lie. but you get, for the sake of argument, you get what I'm saying. She told the truth. She's good at, and that's good, Shantae. She is good at parroting the Republican Party talking points, and so was President Clinton. I told y'all this yesterday, or the day before, I don't even remember it. Clinton, in his second run for presidency, went to bed with the Republican Party. Y'all remember Newt Gingrich? Newt Gingrich shut down the government. Y'all remember that? 1995, 90, I can't remember, 6, something like that. He was the Speaker of the House and shut it down. He was against Clinton. But when it came time for him to run again, he began to go to bed with Gingrich and that party. And he began to take on more talking points like Shantae, on Republican conservative values. We was dumbfounded by it. We didn't even realize. We just said, yeah, he must be right because he's Democratic and he's Bill Clinton because he play a mean saxophone. And what did that do? He drew up that drug bill, that war on drugs. He drew it up. That prison bill, he drew it up. And he did more worse to black people, I believe, than the 8 years of Ronald Reagan. And then what do? We decided to take his wife on and say, y'all remember the Clinton years? Because remember, when he left office, we were at a surplus. We had jobs. It was the appearance that we were great because the stock market was on an all-time high. Everybody was working. America was doing good under this administration, and we looked and heralded him as the greatest president during that time. We didn't forget it. And then when Hillary started running, we says, we got to rally because remember what the father did, the husband did. Oh, man. It is two wings of the same bird, and the bird is flying into a 747. Okay, last but not least, let's hear from a white woman.
Hey folks, welcome to the news. Lacey Green here. My favorite commercials are those ones that are like, did you know that stress is terrible for your health? Yeah, stress can lead to high blood pressure and suppressed immune system and diabetes. And then you're like, oh great, now I get to be stressed out about being stressed out. Man, stress is like a bad cycle, and it's a cycle that affects some folks more than others. A new study published in the journal Sociological Inquiry found that after analyzing data from 30,000 people, racial minorities had significantly higher rates of stress, and it's symbolic of a great divide between the health of the dominant race versus the minority race in countries around the world. It's well documented that minority groups in the U.S. have way more stress, poor mental health, and poor physical health than white Americans. Racial minorities get sick more, their illness is more severe, it happens at younger ages, and they die sooner than white people do. In the U.S., New Zealand, and Canada, the average lifespan of male minorities is 7 years shorter than the white male average in the country. In Australia, it's 21 years shorter. So the big question here is why? It's a tricky puzzle, peeps. Lots of pieces, more than a short YouTube video could ever hope to place. But there are a few key factors here. Racial discrimination, class, and education level. A study at the University of Western Australia found that Aboriginal participants were 5 times as likely to report negative treatment based on their race and twice as likely to have health problems. The American Journal of Public Health found that even anticipating racism, which minorities commonly experience with racial profiling policies like stop and frisk, is enough to trigger a harmful stress response. The British Medical Journal published a study finding that those who initially screened negative for all mental illnesses were twice as likely to have deteriorating mental health when they experienced racial discrimination. So these are some of the reasons why scientists are calling for racial prejudices, from interpersonal types like being suspicious of someone because they're black, to systemic types like providing little funding for schools in the ghetto, to be addressed not only as a social justice issue but as a public health issue. At a conference in Switzerland last week focused on addressing racial health disparities, researchers laid out what they think can be done about this. The first is to recognize that there's something that's not quite right here. Second is to say, nah, inequality is not cool. And lastly, to make real changes that will better the health of minority groups. So next stop, end global poverty. Thanks for joining me, friends. Don't forget to subscribe to News for 2 new science updates every single day.
All right, white woman, thank you. There you have it. Some of her statements were like, duh. Whatever. Some of her statements, I'm sorry y'all for this bad lighting. Some of her statements, I was like, come on, really? I mean, Stevie Wonder could see that. And to use certain words, superior or dominant or things like that. And so, and again, that is one of the greatest tricks that those who have this racist. I'm not saying she's racist. She's just a reporter. Don't beat up the reporter. But that is the whole rope-a-dope. That is the whole thing with racists and those who feel superior. Is they know how you think. They know your mentality, and because you act insignificant or you act like you're not superior, inferior, is that the word? Because you act that way, they will continue to have a leg up on you. So your schools will continue to be the way it is. Your neighborhoods will still be the way it is. And the way you operate in your churches will still be the same way. Because politics keep you poor and your churches keep you poor. And I'm adamant about that. And I don't care what y'all say. I don't care about the backlash. The churches and politics, those who you put in office, white and black politicians, keep you poor. Not just financially, but mentally, and the churches keep you spiritually poor. That's the problem. White minority who dominates the societies around the world. Shantae, you worked up, girl. You worked up. I don't even know how you can type this fast. Poor. I don't know how you do it. All right? So let me close this down by saying, because the question was asked, well, is racism a mental illness? Let me tell you something. I don't know. I have no idea. And even what if the DSM finally put it in there, that it is that, I can't believe everything somebody say. You shouldn't believe everything I say. Because I said some ridiculous stuff as well. I know one thing, though. You can tell a racist. You can spot him by being in the room with him for 5 minutes. It don't take a brain surgeon to discover what a racist look like or sound like. Because the Bible even alludes to, how do you know a fool? Soon as he opened his mouth, you say, that's a fool. So free your mind, Shantae say. Stop getting caught up in the cloud. A lot of us are caught in the cloud and study. Just study. Read a book for Pete's sake. Okay? Do some study. Do some social science studies. Study the urban makeup of your town. I mean, it's free. You ain't got to enroll in a 4-year institution to do that. And I'm not saying you can believe everything that Google say, but at least go there, because you go there for everything else. So go there and then ask the Lord to help you with discerning of spirits to determine whether this is a lie or not. Because many of you don't talk about that which is spiritual. You talk about all that's natural. You never bring up the spirit. You never. You don't. What's the problem with America today? Spirit. America is sin sick. That's the problem. We're sin sick. So, in that, to answer the question, we're sick. What do we do about it? America need to return back to God. I don't think they ever knew him. So how can they return? If it is placed in the DSM, they will murder with impunity. Yep, I know. It ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. America is sick. Where did it start? Oh, man, I don't know if it started with the Moors or with these colonizers. You know, colonizers is a general term. Did it start in Spain, or did it start in the Triangle Trade? Where did it start? Did it start when they came over there? Because wherever white folk tried to conquer, folk was already there. White folk didn't discover nothing. Did I say that? Yeah, white folk didn't discover anything. Wherever they went, somebody was always there. So they just went somewhere, conquered it, and said, we discovered it. Yeah. So there's a belligerent spirit in many of them. And that sickness of racism is a bad sickness. And only God could heal them of that. Meanwhile, don't get caught up in the rope-a-dope. You need to focus on your family values. Raise your children. I talked about this yesterday. Do I have to repeat myself? Raise up your children in the fear and admonition of the Lord. And let him help you raise that child. And then everything that, like Matthew chapter 6, I think says, all these things that you're looking for, whether it's health and money and well-being, all that stuff. What am I going to do tomorrow? What am I going to wear tomorrow? The Bible says, why are you worried about all that stuff? It says, because I'm your Father in heaven, and you're going to ask for some bread, and I ain't going to give you no stone. That's ridiculous. The sparrows and these birds don't even sow. They wake up every morning, and I feed the birds. Feed the birds. So, why would I create you, and you want one of mine, and I don't feed you? He says, I give seed to the sower. You're like, God told you to be a planter. So, wait, God, you want me to be a planter? How am I going to plant? I ain't got no seed. Well, if I told you to plant, I'm going to give you the seed to plant, man. Oh, just reach up and grab it. Bam, there it is. Now you can sow, and then you're going to sow in abundance, because even though you might have the 2 little seed, you might grow a huge crop from them 2 little seeds. It's just an amazing piece of science that God, because he is omniscient science, right? So you eat from, so you worried about tomorrow. What you worried about that for? Don't worry about that. I got to take care of you. Serve me and seek after my righteousness, and everything you want, I'm going to add it to you. And that means if you want to excel in politics, if that's what your choice, I got you. You want to excel in education, oh, I got you there. Don't worry about that. You want to excel in science, I got you there. You want to excel in the community somehow, in finance too, I got you there. What you worry about it because there's a white superior racist standing in your way? I can remove that person and put you in that place. You know what color the president of that brand of ABC who hired Roseanne Barr? This is a black woman, okay? Who's over the Academy, the Oscars? A black woman, okay? Come on, y'all. You got these black people in position of power. Now we just got to find a way to get them to speak up. That's too much power for one man. They said that in the Malcolm X movie. Well, some of y'all, you're in power, but you don't know what to do with it. Okay. It's potential. And how do you... love ain't love, they say, until you give it away. So you got power, what do you do with it? Are you really powerful? Because you ain't doing nothing with it. Use your power, people. I gotta go. I done preached my midday connection gospel 1 hour and 13 minutes. My bad. Y'all shouldn't have been typing. I wouldn't have been reading all of y'all's intellectual, brilliant minds, because y'all are brilliant. That's why I had to read them, because whenever Deanne and June and Shantae and Karen type, oh my God, and Pitts, I mean, man, when they type, I have to read it, because some of the most brilliant people I know are those women. Oh man, and then there's Lana right there. Ooh, can't forget her. Oh my God, yeah, they just brilliant. All right, one more. What are you saying? Without human rights, all other rights are jeopardized. Praying for all of us humans who are in this country whose rights to life is being placed in danger due to ignorance and bad policies. God be with you all. Shantae Charles, hallelujah. You have the last say. And it was the most brilliant thing said in this whole telecast. I thank you, my sister, and give your husband my love. Thank y'all. See y'all tonight, 5 o'clock p.m. Sunday school lesson. Sunday school, 5 p.m. Elder Rodney Jones will be on in just another hour in whatever. Today's lesson is meet human need on the Sabbath. We're coming out of Matthew chapter 12, 1 through 14. Go ahead, grab your Bibles and study that. Matthew 12, 1 through 14. Meet the human need on the Sabbath. Uh-oh. That might be controversial. 5 o'clock Central Standard Time today. Meet me there. Hit the share button if you can. If you're on YouTube, hit the bing, that bell button, subscribe. We got more stuff to upset white folks and black folks. Get off the plantation, you people who hanging around them Democrats and those of you over there on the right side. Get off the plantation. You give us free. Give us free. Walk out of there, y'all, and plant your own stuff. And 40 acres is yours. You want it? It's all yours. A mule? Get you a Cadillac. All right. So what's the Jones Show?